Kakos Industries is ad-free. To help keep it that way, head to kakosindustries.com/Patreon and consider becoming a member today.
What you are about to hear is teeny tiny and ickle wickle.
Hello and welcome to the Kakos Industries corporate shareholder announcements. At Kakos Industries, we specialize in helping our clients to do evil better. My name is Conrad Miszuk and I am CEO. Let's begin. Today's broadcast is coming to you from a raccoon with a talking collar. Now, I need to emphasize right at the start here that this is not a tamed animal. At least not in the way you might like it to be. It is not a pet. You should not touch it. You should not feed it. It has been trained just enough to bring you these announcements, and then it will leave. If you try to interact with it, you will get hurt. I understand that this radio comes to us from a collaboration between our Division of Domestication and Raccoons Are Us, a baffling client of ours that apparently only breeds and supplies raccoons. Why you would need raccoons is unclear at this time. Beyond that, the talking collar is nothing particularly special. It should give you these announcements in a clear and comprehensible manner. You don't need to worry about destroying it at the end. The raccoon will find its way back to its handlers and the radio can potentially be reused. If you damage your radio, you will be getting the same radio the next time we use it, so it will be your problem to deal with then. And I should mention that this broadcast is only for Kakos Industries shareholders. If you're not a Kakos Industries shareholder, the raccoon will soon realize this fact and become a dangerous feral animal far too close to your face. I would think about getting away as quickly as possible before you hear too much. Or, if you want to hang out with a raccoon for like 20 to 30 minutes, then do something really evil, and maybe you can hang. Maybe. Last time, shareholders, we received a number of phone calls that had no answer on the other side. Now, this isn't exactly a rare occurrence in the world of telephonics, but it was odd the way that it happened here. Soundman answered one of the calls, and the silence was so stark that it terrified him. I don't want to make it sound like I'm a stronger individual simply because I answered 2 phone calls and he only answered 1 and got spooked, because it's possible that the 3rd call was actually different than the first 2. That being said, Soundman has now gotten rid of his cell phone and relies only on a pager. If you need to contact him, you need to send him GPS coordinates and a time. Or go to where he lives, or find him here in the booth where he often is, even after or well before the announcements. He will not answer phone calls. Some of you may be wondering, Soundman only communicates through sign language. How did he ever use a phone? And you're making an assumption. Soundman communicates only through sign language during these broadcasts because his ethics code prevents him from interfering except in emergency circumstances. And not even then most of the time in my experience. You will likely never hear Soundman speak a single word during one of these broadcasts. Which is honestly too bad. People often remark on how he found his way to the wrong side of the microphone. Beautiful, sonorous, resonant, clear. Just an amazing voice. The calls did stop after Soundman answered, so it's possible the void got what it wanted from him, and not from me. Or perhaps something else stopped the calls and we will never know what it was. I'm not going to dwell too much on what that could have been. Shareholders, if you just heard a purring sound, then I should tell you that there is a package on my desk that says, open me at the end of the announcements for a surprise. Now, I hate everything about this, but I was told that it passed all known screenings. There is nothing harmful in this box whatsoever, at least not that we can test for. Of course, I would prefer not to have it in here at all, especially while it continues to make strange sounds periodically. But I was overruled by Soundman, who says it adds a nice ambiance. I did remind him about his experience with the phone calls, but he was unswayed. We recently had the Festival of Innovation. Now you might be thinking, Corin, last time you told us what happened in the Festival of Innovation. And also started the paragraph by saying that the festival was coming up. And you would be right. I am told that there was an experiment going on in the building that caused what they are calling time bubbles to float around the building. And the announcements that I should have been giving you right now regarding the robotic algorithms trying to maximize sex in some way happened then, instead, as one of those time bubbles floated into my head. Apparently, it's more likely to happen that way if you are stressed out. It makes you more susceptible. And apparently, I was the right candidate. It's funny because things happened almost exactly how I described them last time. I didn't remember reading the announcements, but I was struck by déjà vu when the event actually came to pass. In fact, quite a few people seemed to notice all at once that they had experienced this before. Time bubbles. Strange stuff. Coming up, we have the Festival of Self-Love. As there is no time bubble floating through my head at this moment, I can't say exactly how it's going to go, but I can say that it will be deep and satisfying in all of the ways you will need it to be. Our Cacophonia Music Festival recently had Lo-Fi Night. Things started with a lowish fidelity, which is to say that there were some spools of tape being played back with machinery that was not functioning as well as it should. By the end, the fidelity was so low one would have trouble distinguishing the sounds from white noise. Somehow they were harsher than white noise. People who were there commented that the experience made them reflect on their own eventual dissolution into the background noise of the universe, and that the experience was deep and intense. I have some news about Middy. She has determined that the Tabitha she was cloned from ran away due to a disagreement with her twin sister, Tabitha Prime. Apparently, she had a conversation about it and actually got answers. Amazing. There is some family history that Middy seems to be uninterested in sharing with me, either due to embarrassment or keeping the family secrets, but apparently these sisters were more or less tasked with the process of perfecting evil, and mainly doing this through genetics. They studied genetic engineering, they worked away for decades, and they were also tasked with being of service to the CEO of Kakos Industries. This assignment seems to be a bit complicated, or at least I'm not satisfied with the answer. Their parents wanted them to become pregnant by the then current CEO of Kakos Industries, meaning my grandfather, and the way that they arranged with the board to have the opportunity was to be secretaries for him at least part of the day. That feels like a lame explanation, but maybe that's all there is. I think we know how my grandfather reacted to the idea, so the research into genetics continued while their primary function was denied in whatever evil breeding scheme they were brought into. Tabitha Prime wanted to continue down this road to its maximum extent. Her sister had a crisis of faith. They were meant to be doing maximum evil, and they were stuck toying with the building blocks of life instead of making big strides. Tabitha Prime seemed to get over not being able to carry an evil child in a way that her sister didn't, and her sister left. Middy is in the process of trying to piece together when and where she might have gone. The other day I was working at my desk when Junior burst in and blew some psychedelic powder in my face again. When I was done berating him for fucking up my whole day, he told me that this was different. It was like the delirium, but without all the terror. He called it an indica. I said that's not the right drug. He then rightfully argued that he can call it whatever he wants when he invents it. And I can only criticize him so much when we did end up back at the caves. And also, he turned into a banana. And my grandfather always told me never to argue with bananas. So we made it back to the caves. It's difficult to describe exactly what the caves are like. They are rocky, like caves, but the ground is flat and walkable. The color of the stone changes depending on the trip and the lighting. This was cooler lighting. Sometimes I see firelight, which is considerably redder. The caves never quite look the same, but you can feel inside that you're in the right place. Then, I walked inside. He was right. The terror was gone. I felt no fear at all, just a mild curiosity. I wandered around for 30 minutes, just sort of examining the structure of the cave. Its stalagmites and stalactites. What my subconscious was able to conjure as being basically a cave. Evidence of bats, but no bats to speak of. I walked around the entire cave and even in towards the center a ways and found nothing. There was no scream, there was no barrier, but also there were no answers. Not a single clue. I even tried to conjure some paper, hoping that notes might appear. But while I did find a composition book, all of the pages were completely blank. Not even a doodle. Not even a hint of subconscious trying to break through. At that point, Junior, who was now a washing machine, caught up with me to ask what I found. I told him nothing, and that I was ready to be done. He blew another powder in my face, and we were right back in my office. He has gotten quite skilled with these chemicals. It is fairly obvious that we will need a different formulation if I am to find what I need to find. That's the box. I can't open it yet, I guess, so we just have to wait. We found a dozen or so interns who are very excited about psychedelic drugs in general, and we convinced them to sign on for shifts working as Junior's extra brains in his mind palace. He earned these extra minds because he was able to fold proteins in such a way as to allow us to cure Ety's wasting, a disease caused by a lab accident from a few years back. We got some top scientists able to work again because of that, so we gave him some new people as a reward. Apparently, he can do more than just design psychedelic drugs when properly incentivized. I do feel bad for the interns, but they are getting course credit, so... The Tabithas in name only eventually got too skilled at working with bars holding their arms apart, which left them time to start conspiring again. I had to put that to a stop as quickly as I possibly could. Using some other advice I found on the internet, I imposed a rule that they could only interact with their work materials using chopsticks. That includes typing and holding a pen. The downside of this process is that while I can leave them alone for lengths of time, I do have to be nearby sometimes to make it look like I'm really enjoying their suffering. The conspiring has really gone down, though. It's now time for today's Q&A segment. Today's question is, where can I play games? The answer depends on what you mean by games and how much you value your personal safety. You can play hide and seek wherever you would like. No one may ever find you, but that's the risk you run if you're playing at the highest levels. If you're looking for a more tame experience, you can check out Employee Lounge 42, where you can typically drop into a tabletop game without too much waiting. I will caution you that some of the games are designed by us and may leave you with permanent enemies. And if you're looking to try out experimental video games, the Division of Interactive Entertainment has a new handheld console that you can test out. The games are so much fun that people have a hard time disconnecting, even when they have more pressing matters to take care of. Like eating. There's also Hopscotch in the Park by the entrance. I have news from the Division of Erotic Experiences. The new Division of Erotic Experiences has submitted a number of potential programs to begin that I am debating between. I've asked for presentations, but for now it seems like they are looking into 3 projects. The first is called A Game That Gets Nerds Laid. The second is a device that is supposed to maximize pornographic consumption. The third is a new romantic arrangement that is a bit like polyamory, but also a bit like a video game guild. I am excited to see what they come up with. Meredith Gorgoro, the overseer in our Hell labor camp, has found that shining lights through the crystals they've discovered at different angles produces moving images from different angles in the scene. We've been better able to get a look at the thing with all of the teeth, and we are beginning to think that it might be some kind of fish, which would change the way we're looking at everything else in the scene. It might make more sense if these things are underwater, but at the same time, we still want to know when. You might be thinking that fish with teeth does give us a rough timeline, but that doesn't seem to be right in this case. Fish probably isn't the right word, and neither is teeth. There is also the question that eventually makes its way into all of our projects at Kakos Industries, which is this evil? Right now it seems to be an interesting inquiry into early life on Earth, which is great and all, but that's not really what we do. Granted, we can't always know that something will definitely result in evil when we first start experimenting with it. It's like those branches of mathematics that only become useful 50 years later with the discovery of a new technology. All the same, we need to be careful that we are not spending too much time on something that is merely interesting. The Division of Kaiju Battle Reenactment has recently reenacted the mind-bending darkness versus the unimaginable lightness. We toned down the darkness and lightness to be more viewable by human eyes. The original battle had to be watched with a combination of the most powerful spotlight known to man and a welding visor, and even then it was difficult to see exactly what was happening. At the end of the reenactment, much like the real battle, there was a moment when the two combatants fell on top of each other and began rolling before disappearing entirely. The Division of figuring out what all of these keys go to has unlocked the gun safe. The gun is still in there with only a single bullet missing from its magazine. We are led to believe that that bullet has another key in it, if it can be found. That's the box again, shareholders. I'm just going to ignore it. I have news about the Division of Dams and Water Management and the Matmos pools. I am told that there have been some concerns raised about the way the Matmos-affected individuals have been behaving lately since the pools have been reunited. They have been meeting in strange places and doing strange things around the building. This is beginning to look like some sort of conspiracy, which is not ideal. Some have suggested that without being split as it was, the Matmos may have even more cognitive ability than we originally gave it credit for. And this may be a problem. Clarissa and Hedera are still pioneering dark business casual attire while working, but there have been times where I've caught them working on something, and then they hid it from me. Kimmy, who we remember has a fair amount of Matmos in her system as well, tells me that she hears my concerns but doesn't have the evidence just yet to say if the Matmos is growing too smart or powerful. In the meantime, more members of the various other pools of Matmos have been returning to reality and returning to their jobs. We are getting them rehabbed as quickly as we can. It's been a little while since I updated any of you on the donut, that red lump in the shape of a donut that I pulled out of the Matmos once. Because of how it is able to communicate and also how it might be related to the Matmos, we've had a couple of people shave off some chunks, grind them up, and ingest them to see if they can communicate with the strange reddish stone. So far, the effects have been strange. Those who have consumed the most tend to look a lot like they're moving in slow motion. Their thinking has been slowed as well. We are unsure if this process can be reversed. When we connected the electrodes to the donut, it took about a week to say, "I don't know, man. I didn't ask you to do that." I have some news from the Division of Secret Societies. Winona Grimble is apparently still making progress within the misspell of the ball pageant. But we've noticed that she looks too satisfied and not bruised enough. It would appear that either she's winning her fights in their underground fight club by larger and larger margins, or that the fighting has become less of a feature of her experience in the organization. We've asked for updates, but she's told us that she is working on something but doesn't want to say too much yet. It's time for today's Employee Spotlight. Today we're highlighting Ball Morton from the Division of Sexting for making it happen for that guy. Victor Calistrate had been going through a bit of a rough patch recently after a breakup, and he also has a bit of an unusual flirtation style. Not aggressive, not rude, just unusual. Anyway, they were able to coach him into a more normal pattern of behavior, which has apparently made it happen. It is unclear if making it happen once is enough to make it happen again, but that's in Victor Calistrate's hands now. There is always a danger in getting someone to like you by behaving like someone else, though. They say that evil once egged and toilet papered every house in the neighborhood except yours. This is things we're taking credit for now. Today we're taking credit for owls, dolphins, and fucked up owl-dolphin hybrids. Now, I should mention that sometimes it is difficult for us to know for certain that we are responsible for these things. But that third thing, we all know that was us. I'd tell you not to doubt, but you don't. You don't doubt that for a second. What have we done? Your local library has won today's Ruin a Life drawing. As a result, the life of your local library's nemesis will be ruined. That nemesis is, okay. We gave the Wheel of Misery an interested spin, and it landed on the space for high. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Corin, don't give me a hard time. I like to get high and can do so responsibly. And even if I'm not that responsible, it's my own life, you know? And to that, I say, sure, I trust you. I understand that you can hang. But what if, and hear me out, what if you were just a little too high all the time? Not too high to function, just too high to function well. And you know you've got shit to do. That's what it's going to be like for, okay. For evil measure, Your local library will be 13% more sober, which... Fuck, man. Who needs that? The Damnation and Ruination Squad, that team tasked with carrying out the Wheel of Misery's dictates, is currently doing their job around Kakos and elsewhere, wearing rat skins. Fortunately, rats are not difficult to find or breed, but unfortunately, it takes a lot of them to make a garment, and they're not dressed lightly this time. Little has been done to treat or preserve the skins. This is potentially one of the worst things they've worn yet. I'm not looking forward to the smell as things progress. This brings us to the end of today's broadcast, shareholders. The raccoon with the talking collar will see itself out when the time is appropriate. Now, I suppose it's time for us to consider this box. Are you ready, shareholders? Are you ready to know what was inside? It's a bunch of prank snakes. That's it. Some confetti. Do we know where this came from? You've got to be kidding me. The numbers are next. 37, 37, 37, 37, 37, 38, 37, 37, 38, 39, 40, 44, 4, 44, 4, 0. Oh, fuck, that's a real snake. There's a real one in there.
Kakos Industries is written and produced by Conrad Miszuk, who is also the voice of Corin Deeth and the composer of the music. The introductions and credits are read by Ryan L. Jenkins. A bottle of hot sauce with someone's meemaw on the label. Find transcriptions and more at kakosindustries.com. That's KAKOSINDUSTRIES.com. Visit store.kakosindustries.com for merchandise and get wonderful benefits by becoming a subscription donor at kakosindustries.com/Patreon. Join our community at kakosindustries.com/Discord and follow us on social media. Fan art really makes our day. Drop us a line for whatever reason at inquiries@kakosindustries.com.
Special thanks to our esteemed shareholders, Christina Kirkland, Brian Slizzard Becker, and Churlington Beescoat III, Esquire. Also thanks to honored employees Calico, Carson Lucas, and Day the Druid, who painted a number 2 on a wild hog so that we could all sleep that night. The division of beanies, booties, and construction projects that are probably too large for yarn, directed by Theo Cornett, has completed work on the Knit Bidet and is now working on various designs of shower curtains. The division of obscure vintage technology, directed by Craig Sizz, has acquired a VCR that adds extra spookiness to everything it plays. The division of subtle efficiency increases, directed by Daniel R. Smith, has increased efficiency by giving everyone a slight butt itch, making them want to finish their work and get home. The division of Kakos Cafeteria Reviews, directed by Seth and Josh, has reviewed Benito's Big Ass Burritos. These are enough food for 2 to 3 people each, 14 out of 16. The division of Improbable Cookbooks, directed by Hayden Neff, has been working on organ grinding. Everything is made from organ meat that you grind yourself in a variety of tedious ways. The division of Villainous Introspection, directed by Sarah, is considering what textures make them feel the most evil. A microfiber cloth right out of the dryer is currently under consideration. The division of Animal Stacking, directed by the one true Dave, has stacked 12 baboons, cheek to cheek. The division of lesser-known napping locations, directed by Sassmaster J, has recently taken a nap in the hammock above the library stacks, where the decorative mannequin usually rests. The Division of Unnecessary Competitions, directed by Mike A., has organized a competition to see who can make their face the reddest. The Division of Death Divination, directed by Jack Delancey, watched Corin curse under his breath while climbing stairs. They tell us, ask again later. The Division of Must-See Train Trips, directed by Nish, has organized a train package touring the deep sea rail. You do have to hold your breath for a pretty long time. Our esteemed shareholders, honored employees, division heads, and other Patreon patrons are the best. If you want a thank you in the credits, your own division, or other great rewards that help to keep this show running, please head to kakosindustries.com/Patreon. That's Patreon, Patreon.
Doing evil can take a lot out of you. Take a nap within a nap.